The Nevada wilderness stretched endlessly under the pale light of the setting sun, a vast expanse of golden plains and jagged mountains. The wind carried the scent of sagebrush and danger, whispering through the tall grass where a newborn Mustang Foal lay hidden. His mother had left him there, trusting the tall grass to shield him while she went to find water. But the wilderness is unforgiving, and safety is never guaranteed. As the shadows grew longer, a low growl echoed through the valley. The foal's ears twitched, his tiny body trembling as he sensed the danger before he saw it. From the edge of the trees, a pack of wolves emerged, their yellow eyes gleaming with hunger. They moved silently, their sleek bodies cutting through the grass like shadows. The foal's heart raced, his legs too weak to run, his cries too soft to carry. He was alone, and the wolves were closing in. Just as the lead wolf crouched to strike, a thunderous roar shattered the silence. From the ridge above, a massive, dark Mustang Stallion charged down, his hooves pounding the earth like a force of nature. The wolves scattered, but the Stallion's arrival was only the beginning of an incredible journey, one that would test the limits of survival, loyalty, and the bond between man and beast. But why did the Stallion risk his life for a foal that wasn't his own? And what would happen when the wolves returned, stronger and hungrier than before? This is a story of courage, family, and the unbreakable spirit of the wild. Before we dive deeper into this incredible story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more heartwarming and thrilling tales like this one. And don't forget to share this story with someone who loves the untamed beauty of nature. Now, let's find out what happens next. A wild Mustang foal, barely a few days old, stood alone in the vast, unforgiving wilderness. His mother was nowhere to be seen. Then, movement in the distance. A pack of wolves, their hungry eyes locked onto the helpless baby horse. There was no escape, no way to fight back. Just as it seemed like the end, something happened that no one saw coming. The wind howled through the canyons, carrying the scent of dust and sagebrush across the open plains. The sun was setting, casting long shadows over the wild terrain. Alone in the tall grass, a young Mustang foal stood trembling, his tiny legs barely strong enough to support his weight. He had never been this far from his mother before. He had never been alone. His mother, a powerful and experienced Mustang mare, had gone to find water, leaving him hidden in the high grass, hoping he would be safe. But the wilderness had other plans. A low, guttural growl echoed through the valley. The foal's ears perked up. From the shadows of the trees, a pair of glowing yellow eyes emerged. Then another and another. Wolves, their sleek bodies moving with deadly precision, circled the foal like ghosts in the twilight. Their hunger was evident in their cautious but relentless approach. The leader, a massive gray wolf with a scar running down his muzzle, took the first step forward. The foal squealed instinctively, trying to run. His wobbly legs barely carried him a few feet before he stumbled. The wolves moved in closer. Their patience was wearing thin. They knew he couldn't escape. This was the law of nature. Only the strong survived. The lead wolf crouched, muscles tensed, preparing to lunge. Then, a thunderous roar shattered the silence. The wolves hesitated, ears twitching. The sound wasn't from a predator or another Mustang. It was something else entirely. From the top of the ridge, a dark shadow appeared. A towering figure loomed against the dying light. It was a Mustang Stallion, larger than any the wolves had ever seen. His coat was dark as night, and his muscles rippled with barely contained power. His eyes, sharp and blazing, were filled with an untamed fury. The Stallion charged down the hill like a force of nature. His hooves thundered against the earth, sending dirt and rocks flying. The wolves reacted immediately. Some bolted, while others hesitated. The leader, the massive scar-faced wolf, held his ground, baring his teeth in a deep snarl. The Stallion didn't stop. He was coming at full speed, his eyes locked onto the predators, threatening the helpless foal. Just as the lead wolf lunged, the Stallion struck. His front hooves lashed out with devastating force, sending the wolf tumbling backward with a yelp of pain. The other wolves panicked and fled into the trees, abandoning their hunt. Silence fell over the valley, broken only by the heavy breathing of the stallion. His nostrils flared as he stared at the foal. For a long moment, neither moved. The foal, exhausted and weak, finally collapsed in the grass. The stallion took a step closer, lowering his head. His breath was warm, his presence powerful yet strangely calming. Then, something unexpected happened. Instead of leaving, the stallion stood guard over the foal. This wild, untamed Mustang, a leader of his own herd, had claimed the orphaned foal as his own. The night was eerily quiet. The foal lay curled in the tall grass, his small body shivering from exhaustion and fear. His legs ached from trying to escape, but his mind was too overwhelmed to sleep. A few feet away, the massive stallion stood like a statue, his dark coat blending into the shadows. His ears twitched, listening to the sounds of the night, the distant hoot of an owl, the rustle of the wind through the dry grass, the soft breathing of the foal. For a wild stallion to protect a foal that wasn't his own was unusual. Mustangs were known for their strength, leadership, and survival instincts, but raising young was typically the role of the Mares, not the stallions. Yet here he was. The foal lifted his head slightly, watching his unlikely protector with wide, uncertain eyes. The stallion had saved him from the wolves, but why would he stay? The foal let out a soft, questioning whimper. The stallion turned his head slightly, looking down at him. His dark eyes studied the small, helpless creature before him. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then, the stallion took a single step closer. It was enough to tell the foal that, for now, he wasn't alone. Morning came swiftly, bringing new challenges. The foal stirred awake, his body stiff from lying in the cold grass. When he opened his eyes, his heart nearly stopped. The stallion was gone. Panic surged through his tiny frame. He pushed himself up on shaky legs, his breathing quick and uneven. He let out a desperate, high-pitched neigh. The valley stretched before him, empty and vast. The foal felt the crushing weight of loneliness creeping back. Maybe it had been a dream. Maybe the stallion had never truly been there. Then, a deep snort came from behind him. The stallion stood just a few feet away, watching with an expression that was impossible to read. He had been observing, waiting, testing the foal. The foal let out a relieved whimper. His legs nearly gave out from the sudden wave of emotion, but the stallion didn't approach. Instead, he turned and walked away. The foal was faced with a decision: stay and wait for his mother, or follow the stallion into the unknown. Every instinct told him to stay. His mother might still be looking for him. This wasn't his herd, this wasn't his place. But another instinct, one he didn't fully understand, told him something else: follow. With one deep breath, the foal took a step forward, then another, and another. The stallion let out a deep, approving snort before continuing his path. For the first time since his mother had disappeared, the foal wasn't alone. But his journey was far from over. Something or someone was watching them from the trees, and danger was closer than they realized. The foal followed the stallion with hesitant steps, his tiny hooves sinking into the damp earth. The stallion moved effortlessly, each stride powerful and confident. The foal, on the other hand, struggled to keep up. His legs were still shaky from exhaustion. The stallion didn't slow down. It was a silent test, a lesson: keep moving or be left behind. The sun climbed higher, burning away the morning mist. They had entered a new part of the valley where the grass was thinner and the land was rougher. Large boulders jutted from the earth, and the scent of fresh water lingered in the air. The foal's legs ached, but he didn't dare stop. If the stallion could do it, so could he. Then, a sound broke through the silence. A branch snapped. The stallion's head jerked up immediately, his ears pricked forward. His entire body turned rigid. The foal stopped, his breath quickening. Something was watching them. The stallion took a step forward, his nostrils flaring as he scanned the trees. The thick brush along the hillside hid the threat. Glowing eyes appeared in the shadows of the trees. Then another and another. The wolves were back, but this time they weren't alone. The pack had brought reinforcements. 5, 6, no. At least 8 wolves now moved through the brush, their sleek bodies barely visible in the undergrowth. They were hunters, patient and relentless. Last night had been a failure. They wouldn't make the same mistake again. The foal's breathing turned ragged. His legs locked beneath him, refusing to move. The stallion, however, wasn't afraid. His head lifted high, muscles coiled like a spring ready to strike. A low, deep sound rumbled from his throat. Not an neigh, not a snort, but something primal, a warning. The wolves hesitated, but only for a moment. Their hunger overpowered their caution. They attacked. It happened in an instant. The first wolf lunged, its teeth flashing in the sunlight. The stallion reared up on his hind legs, his powerful hooves striking down just in time to send the predator skidding backward. Another wolf tried from the side, snapping at the stallion's flank, but the Mustang twisted, kicking out with enough force to shatter bones. The foal could do nothing but watch, his small body frozen in terror. The stallion was fighting, but there were too many. A wolf darted toward the foal, teeth flashed, claws scraped against the dirt. The foal screamed. Then something slammed into him from the side. He tumbled to the ground, the world spinning for a second. He thought it was over, but when he looked up, his heart nearly stopped. Another horse stood over him. Not just any horse, but a mare. Her coat was a rich chestnut, her mane tangled from the wind. Her eyes were wild, burning with determination. She wasn't as big as the stallion, but she was just as fierce, and she wasn't alone. Behind her, stepping into the clearing, was an entire herd of Mustangs. They had come. The wolves realized their mistake too late. The stallion let out a deafening scream, a signal, a battle cry. The herd responded instantly, charging forward like a tidal wave of muscle and fury. The wolves had no choice. They turned and ran, vanishing back into the trees. Their hunt was abandoned once more. Silence fell over the valley. The only sounds were the heavy breaths of the Mustangs, their bodies still tense from the fight. The foal lay where he had fallen, his heart pounding in his chest. He didn't understand what had just happened, didn't know who these new horses were, but he knew one thing. He was safe. The chestnut mare lowered her head, sniffing him gently. There was something familiar about her, something comforting. Then, in a voice soft but certain, she whinnied, and the foal recognized it. His mother. She had found him, but this was only the beginning. The stallion, the dark wild protector, was still watching, and he wasn't leaving. The foal pressed his small, trembling body against his mother's side, his heart still racing from the chaos. She nuzzled him gently, her warm breath calming his panic. The familiar scent of her coat, the steady sound of her heartbeat. It was everything he had longed for. He was home, but something had changed. The stallion stood a few feet away, his dark eyes unreadable, his powerful frame still tense from the fight. His ears twitched toward every sound in the valley. The wolves were gone, but the danger wasn't over. The foal's mother turned to face the stallion, her body stiff. There was no fear in her stance, but there was uncertainty. She had spent days searching for her baby, calling for him across the wild expanse. And yet, when she had finally found him, he wasn't alone. He had followed another. The herd had gathered behind her, watching the dark stallion with cautious eyes. Mustangs followed a strict hierarchy. Each herd had its own lead stallion, its own rules. This stallion was an outsider, a challenger. The challenge had been made. The herd's lead stallion, a massive bay Mustang with deep scars along his chest, finally moved. He had remained still up until now, observing the dark stallion's strength. The challenge had been made. With a powerful snort, the bay stallion charged. The dark stallion didn't hesitate. They collided with a force that shook the ground beneath them. Hooves struck, teeth snapped, dust exploded into the air as the two stallions reared and crashed into each other. Their raw power shook the valley. The herd scattered. The foal stumbled backward as his mother shielded him with her body. She knew this fight was necessary. Only the strongest could lead. The dark stallion twisted his muscles, rippling as he slammed his body into the bay's side. The older stallion staggered, but quickly regained his footing. He lunged forward, teeth bared, aiming for the challenger's throat. But the dark stallion was faster. With a sudden, explosive kick, he struck the bay directly in the chest, sending him skidding across the dirt. The lead stallion struggled to rise, his breathing ragged. Blood dripped from a deep bite wound along his neck. The herd watched in silence. They knew the fight was over. The lead stallion had been defeated. The bay slowly stood, his body heaving with exhaustion. He looked at the dark stallion for a long moment before lowering his head in surrender. Then, without another sound, he turned and disappeared into the wilderness. The dark stallion lifted his head high. His deep, wild eyes scanned the herd. They were his now. The foal, still pressed against his mother, felt a strange mixture of fear and awe. This stallion had saved him, had fought for him, had protected him when no one else had. And now he was their leader. The herd slowly began to move, adjusting to their new reality. The foal's mother hesitated for only a moment before stepping forward, accepting the stallion's rule. The foal followed, still unsure of what all of this meant. But one thing was certain: his life would never be the same again. The dark stallion wasn't just a protector, he was now their father. And the dangers of the wild were far from over. The foal moved cautiously through the herd, still unsure of his place in this new world. His mother walked beside him, her presence a source of comfort. But things felt different now. The dark stallion, his new leader, his new father, was watching over them. The herd had accepted the change, but not without unease. Mustangs followed strength, and the dark stallion had proven himself the strongest. Yet he was still an outsider, a mystery. The foal watched him closely. He was unlike any stallion he had ever seen, larger, darker, and more untamed. There was something about him that commanded both fear and admiration. The foal didn't understand why he had saved him, why he had risked his life against the wolves or fought for dominance over the herd. But he knew one thing: he was safer now than he had ever been. The wind shifted, carrying a scent that sent a chill down the foal's spine. His mother stopped suddenly, her ears pricked forward. The herd grew restless. The dark stallion lifted his head sharply, his nostrils flaring. Something was wrong. The foal didn't recognize the smell, but the stallion did. Humans. In the distance, a low rumbling sound filled the air. Something unnatural, something the wild had never created. The foal turned toward the horizon, his small body tensing as the sound grew louder. Then he saw them. A group of figures on horseback, their shapes barely visible against the afternoon sun. But these weren't Mustangs. Their riders sat too still, too controlled. The scent of leather and sweat mixed with something metallic. Ropes, traps. The dark stallion let out a sharp warning neigh, and the herd instantly bolted. Hooves thundered against the ground as they fled toward the hills. The foal stumbled backward, his legs buckling as the rope around his neck tightened with a violent snap. The foal gasped, sucking in air as his body tumbled backward. His mother grabbed his mane, pulling him to his feet. The dark stallion didn't stop. He turned, charging straight at the riders. It was chaos. A rider dismounted, moving quickly toward the struggling foal. The rope dug into his neck, cutting off his breath. He kicked, flailed, desperate to escape. Then a shadow loomed overhead. The stallion struck like lightning, his massive hooves slamming into the ground just inches from the rider, sending dust and gravel flying. The man stumbled back, startled by the raw fury in the Mustang's eyes. Another rider shouted. More ropes flew. The stallion dodged, twisting with unnatural speed. His teeth clamped onto the lasso around the foal's neck, yanking it free with a violent snap. The foal gasped, sucking in air as his body tumbled backward. His mother nudged him forward, and the dark stallion didn't stop. He turned, charging straight at the riders. The herd crashed into their ranks, forcing them apart. The foal saw his chance. A rope lashed toward his mother, but this time he reacted with every ounce of strength. He leaped forward, knocking into her side, making her move just as the rope missed by inches. She turned, her eyes locking onto him for a moment, and then, without a word, she ran faster. The battle lasted only minutes, but to the foal, it felt like a lifetime. The humans had come prepared, but they had underestimated the wild. One by one, the riders turned back. Some lost their ropes, others lost control of their mounts. Their carefully planned attack had fallen apart. They had failed again. The Mustangs chased them to the edge of the valley, stopping only when the last human disappeared over the hills. The foal stood panting, his legs burning from exhaustion. His mother walked up beside him, pressing her muzzle to his. Then the dark stallion approached. For the first time, he lowered his head toward the foal, not as a protector, not as a leader, but as a father. The foal nuzzled him back, understanding now what he had fought for: freedom. The wild belonged to the Mustangs, and no one would ever take that away. The foal lifted his head high, looking over the valley, the place where he had almost been lost, where he had almost been taken. But instead, it had made him strong. Now he was ready to become part of the wild forever. The wild is unforgiving, but those who survive it become legends. This foal's journey was not just about survival. It was about finding strength, family, and the unbreakable spirit of the Mustang. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the valley where the Mustang herd now stood together. The foal, once trembling and alone, now walked with confidence beside his mother, his small legs strong and steady. The dark stallion, their protector and now their leader, watched over them with a quiet pride. The wolves had been driven away, the humans had been outsmarted, and the herd had emerged stronger than ever. Jack, the rancher who had witnessed the stallion's bravery from afar, stood at the edge of the valley, his heart filled with awe. He had seen many things in his years on a ranch, but nothing like this. The bond between the stallion and the foal was a reminder that even in the harshest of environments, compassion and courage could bridge the gap between species. The wild had its own laws, its own sense of justice, and its own way of teaching those who dare to listen. As the herd disappeared into the distance, their silhouettes blending with the fading light, Jack felt a sense of fulfillment he hadn't known in years. He turned back to his ranch, his thoughts still with the Mustangs. He knew he would carry this moment with him for the rest of his life, a reminder of the untamed beauty of the wild and the lessons it could teach us. The wind carried the faint sound of the herd's hooves, a rhythmic beat that echoed through the valley. Some bonds, Jack realized, could never be broken, and sometimes the wild had a way of teaching us more than we could ever teach it. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more incredible tales of courage, trust, and the untamed beauty of nature. Share this story with someone who needs a reminder of the power of compassion and the bonds that connect us all. And let us know in the comments, what would you have done if you were in the stallion's place? We'd love to hear your thoughts.